Hi. Did you know that the greatest French playwright of the 19th century was a black man? He was the son of the famous author Alexandre Dumas, a subject that I covered previously. And like his father, he was born into poverty. His mother was a dressmaker by the name of Marie Labbé, and his father, at the time of his birth, was still in his teens and only earning $5 a day. But when his father started becoming a success, he wanted to give his son a worldly education. So he took him all over the world, introducing him to all his friends, from the salons of the elite to the dens of the underworld. And he took him to various countries such as Germany, Russia, Spain, Italy, and even North Africa. Now, the thing that made Alexandre Dumas, we call him Alexandre Dumas the son, so great was that he revolutionized playwriting. The plays in France up until that time were like light romances that didn't get too heavy into deep thought. Alexandre Dumas did. He brought a realism to the theater and, a complexity of thought that made his plays really deep and noteworthy. Now, the way he started was that he decided that he got inspired by his father's excursions to the underworld, and when his father took him along, and he decided to write a novel about that called "The Sins of His Youth," which had a fairly good amount of success. Then he wrote a novel which later became his masterpiece called Camille. And being in financial difficulty at the time, he decided to try to turn it into a play. And that's when his troubles began. Now, Alexandre Dumas didn't find it easy getting this play produced. But after many attempts and just as many failures, he finally was able to get it off the ground. And like his father's, first play, it became an instant success. Now, this, launched him into stardom. And in fact, that play became such a success that it became a classic, and it was even produced way into the 20th century. It was made into an opera and a silent movie even during the 1920s. And then when the talkies came out, the great actress of the 1930s era, Greta Garbo, actually played the part when it was made into a sound picture. Now, as I say, this put Alexandre Dumas into stardom just around the time that his father had also made it as one of the stars of the 19th century France. In fact, the two of them were looked upon as the giants of French literature. Now I'm going to compare the two Dumas as to how they were alike and how they were in contrast. And I'm going to read you some quotes. Excuse me. It was said of the two Dumas that the father was always jolly and in a good humor, whereas the son was reserved and inclined to haughtiness. He was a stern moralist and believed that his mission was to reform mankind and lead it into the path of right living. Now, the father, they said, delighted people with his wonderful tales. The son lashed them for their sins and called them to repentance. The father once said of his son, "My son loves preaching overmuch," to which the son replied, "My father is a big child that I had when I was very little." But the two did love each other, and when the father squandered what was at that time considered the greatest fortune ever made by any man, it was the son who came to his rescue and helped sort of support him and bring him through his financial crises. Now they say that the son had quite a wit, but it was a dry sort of humor. At one time, one of the uppity counts of France, one of the royalty, taunted him about his race, and said to him at a party one time, "Monsieur Dumas, I understand that your father was a quadroon, which is a quarter Negro." To which the young Dumas replied, "Yes." And he says, "And that was your grandfather was a mulatto, half black?" He says, "Yes." Says, "That would perhaps make your great-grandfather a Negro?" To which Dumas replied, "That's true." And then the count went on to say, "And I wonder what your great-great-grandfather might have been." To which Dumas replied, "Monsieur, my great-great-grandfather was an ape. You see, my ancestry began where yours left off." Okay. Now, Alexander Dumas, the son, won higher literary honors than his father did, and was considered by many to be the better of the two writers, because he was a deeper thinker, and he had a tremendous understanding of human nature and a mastery of the theater that few before him or few after him could ever attain. Now let me read you a couple of the honors that were bestowed upon him. Excuse me a second. He was elected to membership in the French Academy by a vote of 20 to 11, which was an honor that his father had coveted, though he never got it. Then he was elected president of the Academy, the highest possible intellectual honor for any Frenchman, and was also awarded the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor, the next highest honor. But it hurt him tremendously that he overshadowed his father and put him in the background. And in his acceptance speech, he had these words to say to the committee. "It was under the sun of Africa, of African blood, born of a Negro virgin, that was formed the one from whom thou wert to be born. The one who as a soldier of the Republic stifled a horse between his knees, broke an iron helmet with his teeth, and defended alone the bridge of Brixton against a guard of 20 men. Rome would have borne him in triumph and made him a consul. France, calmer and more economical, refused education to his son." That was Alexander Dumas' father. "And this son, reared in the forest under an open sky, driven by need and the force of his genius, invaded one day the great city and strode into the field of literature as his father strode into the field of battle, overturning all who did not make way for him." Now, this is his grandfather that he was referring to as being the great soldier, and I will get into that much later. But to get on with getting back to the son, he died in 1895 at the age of 71, and enjoying the great esteem of the French nation right to the end. It was said of him that with his death was extinguished the glory of the immortal trio: the grandfather, a Hercules, a Colossus, a giant, and a valiant soldier who personified action; the father, a storyteller par excellence, a master romancer who personified imagination; and the son, Alexander II, the subtle and faithful observer who personified reason. In the Place Malesherbes in Paris, a monument of Alexander the son stands near those of his father and his grandfather. School's out.